Hello there, everyone. Welcome to another live edition of Tapcaf Transmissions, the only Star Wars podcast where the usual co-host, was so disinterested in what we were talking about that he didn't even want to show up. I'm Corey, not joined by Justin, joined instead by top Tapcaf guest, Mr. Ilkin of Things and Generals. Yep, the number one Tapcaf Transmissions guest. I did send you the plaque for that for Christmas.
Yes, it's very nice. I actually keep it on my table. Also,
Don't you ever be late to my podcast ever again.
Listen, Justin, would you agree that Elza's usage of slurs in the book was bad?
I didn't read the book.
Okay, so then you don't know what he said, right?
No.
Maybe you would agree. Who knows?
All right.
Too many slurs or not enough slurs?
Actually, so Ava breaks his heart again.
Okay.
And he actually uses some anti-women slurs. So I think you would find it very compelling, I guess is the word.
This is all fake news. It's all fake news.
I just realized that no one has read the book, so I can say anything, basically.
That's not true. So tonight's topic, for those who might not be aware, we have Temptation of the Force by Tessa Gratton, the second book in Phase 3 of the High Republic, of the adult novels, at least. So we'll be taught. Yes, there is an ebook version of that as well. But I have this nice hardcover. But this is, I don't think there's any Star Wars news that's come out since me and Justin had our episode last night talking about the Acolyte finale. But maybe
the
before
only
we
news
get in,
is that Hunters is now cross-platform, I think.
Was it not before?
I have no idea. I think I read it somewhere, but again, I might be just coming out of my cave, so who knows?
All right. Well, there's been an FAQ put out about Star Wars Hunter, or about Star Wars Hunters. Not Hunters, Bounty Hunter, not Hunters. I was trying to really just get wrong one. The port that's coming out, there's an FAQ up with like cheat codes and stuff. It's helpful, assuming Aspire doesn't ruin it, which is going to be my through line with everything there. And if there's one video that I can just make and then go live my life doing something other than YouTube, it will be it'll start out kind of Star Warsy, but then it'll just turn into fucking whining about Embracer and talking about how that is such a terrible, terrible umbrella company. That
you don't embrace them.
I do not embrace them, and I think they are everything wrong with the games industry and many industries, and how Embracer fucking sucks.
It was so pointless. They just basically got like 10 million different copyrights and then just split. I have no idea what the point of it was. Like, did they made any profit? Was the shares sold more than before?
They were expecting all that influx of money, and then they didn't get that. And they were already ruining all the companies they did, because all these fucking buyouts happen, and you get this nice big monopoly of dumb bullshit, and they don't want to spend any of the money to keep up the companies, and then they just get fucking demolished, and everyone hates it. That's why when someone approaches capitalism.
That's why when someone approaches me to buy our content and uses the word bundle, I'm like, oh my god, I'm going to get like, I don't want to use that word, but you know what I mean. What they are going to do to buy content, basically.
Yes.
So and all that for money, which I would probably do. I don't know.
Like, you get targeted a lot by the weirdos who think that like any art style that they don't necessarily recognize is just AI. Like, you get a lot of comments saying that your whole videos are AI, which is ridiculous.
I think we get more comments about narration and about script writing, which is obviously ridiculous because I know these people.
Yeah.
So, the narrator has been working with us for 8 years, and I can't imagine like replacing whatever. I don't want to like say as it affects this shit. So
yeah, but like for the companies that would try to buy the channel, that's definitely the direction that things would go.
Yeah, especially if I'm not like managing, they will probably cut a bunch of people and then try to replicate it by using some kind of stupid AI thing, and the channel will fail in like 1 week. So there's that.
All right. Well, speaking of companies that buy up a bunch of properties, we have a Disney product to talk about today with Temptation of the Force. But yeah, so we've generally on the channel covered the High Republic adult novels. I think we did one of the young adult novels. I've read, I think, one of the other young adult novels from phase one, I think, but I typically just stick with the adult novels. And one of the comments that I actually got today was asking if we had read, I think, Defy the Storm in
No,
particular.
I haven't read that, but I had actually skimmed the wiki because some points are very important for this book. Again, sometimes they repeat what was already said in young adult novel. Sometimes they try to explain it in a new way, I guess. But overall, as I said when we were reading the first phase books, I dislike the idea that there should be like different age groups.
Mhm.
And I hate the fact that, especially with Dranger, the idea that most of the Dranger stuff happened off screen and now they are really important. It's really not something they
Yeah.
should have done.
I don't know. I don't generally get the feeling that like I'm missing anything for having not read them. Like I feel like the books do a good enough job at explaining the stuff that's actually important as it's going on. Where like I'm glad I read Into the Dark Out of the Shadows for the extra Drengier context, but I don't think that I don't think it's the same thing with like not knowing what the Clone Wars were or not knowing who Darth Vader or Obi-Wan were in the original trilogy. The context you need is there, even if you'll like I think the people most likely to say, oh, well, you need to go watch the prequels to understand what's going on would be people who have watched the prequels, so they have that extra information already.
I don't agree 100% because there's some plot points here that
All
are
right, well,
like,
get the fuck off my podcast.
now that we can curse, I can finally get this out of my chest. Listen, I'm all about consent. I love consent. Everything you do in life should be consensual, blah, blah, blah. But Jedi sex is basically when you do not consent, but consent contract or something. It's really cringy. I don't want Jedi to have any sex again. I don't want them to have kids, especially the one called Anakin. No kids, please. That's about it.
So I still the plot of this book. We are getting more set up for the hyperspace wall, the storm wall is up, blocking access to a big chunk of the galaxy. The Nile have controlled a bunch of space, and so they part of the book is they find a way in and out temporarily. They're able to actually start launching some attacks into Nile territory, but we do get Martian Row trying to spread or researching this blight that's spreading. It does similar things to what the Nameless do, where it just kind of decrepifies everything it touches. But Martian is trying to look into how he can do some stuff with that in the Drengir, maybe spread it throughout the galaxy by using the Drengir's hive mind. But like the Stormwall stuff is kind of concluding and then setting up some more stuff from the prior book, Eye of Darkness, and for the next book, Trials of the Jedi. The Blight stuff is mostly setting up what the conflict will be for Trials of the Jedi. If there is a story that gets fully told in this book, it is Avar Kriss and Elzar Mann finally getting together in the carnal biblical sense. And this, I think, is what Ilkin is objecting to. But that's the A plot of the book. Like that is if there is a through line for the book, it is that.
So I might. Okay, let me start somewhere. I'm not sure if that's a plot. I think
Maybe not the A plot, but if there's one thing that actually gets like resolved in this book, if there is a plot to the book specifically, that's where we get at least some kind of conclusion.
I feel there's some kind of problem coming up in the last book. I feel like the way they dealt with the Drengir, sorry, not Drengir, Nameless, using fear, etc. I think there will be some kind of, I guess, backlash is the word I'm looking for. They will somehow somebody will die or somebody will go to the dark side. Something like that might happen. So I'm not sure if they are done with their story. But I was more interested in your Blight theory. What is Blight, in your opinion?
I mean, right now I've got my aquarium with bladder snail eggs everywhere. That's kind of a blight. So that's it. But I like it seems like whatever the nameless do, there is a connection there. I don't think the nameless are done, but they're kind of the next step in what Martian wanted to do with the nameless. I don't know the origins necessarily, but what are you thinking with this? Where are you going? What's the chart that you're setting up?
So there was a line from, I think, Buryaga, who is really well presented, actually. Probably one of the most interesting characters in the book, and maybe in the entire High Republic. So at some point, because of his stronger empathy skills, he is able to kind of tap into their feeling of the blight. And his idea is basically that they miss home or something along these lines. So because I'm obviously a legend person, I immediately went to thinking that maybe it's some kind of anti-force from other galaxy or something. Basically like antimatter, but anti-force. And it's not from this galaxy, it's not from this universe, and it somehow ended up here because of the old stuff that Nameless were doing with the Force, like living a vacuum or something of the Force. So I guess the idea would be to find negative to negative and send it back somehow.
I feel like it's more likely to still be tied to the nameless through like Planet X.
Okay.
Like I think because like we're bringing in the Drengir as the young Jedi plot, or not the young Jedi plot, the young adult reader plot, and I feel like the Planet X stuff was a bigger thing in the comics, but it did come up in the other novels. And
it's
like
the second phase, I think it came up, right?
Yeah. So I think like if we're kind of pulling all of those threads of the High Republic together, I think having it be another like kind of the culmination of whatever's going on with all the Planet X stuff, I think that would probably make sense.
Remind me, Drengir are of this galaxy or from another one?
I think they're from this. Oh god!
Because remember, they are found basically through that Amexin station. And
they're from another wild space planet.
Okay.
Called Mulatan, not to be confused with Mulatan.
Yes, that was some names, right?
Yeah. So yeah, it's in similar region of space in wild space.
Okay. So you think it's somehow connected to the Nameless and somehow connected to the Drengirs?
Well, I think the Drengir connection is going to be whether or not Martian is able to Markian.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, okay, High Republic Twitter. I'm very sorry, Markian. Whether or not Markian will be able to use the Drengir to spread the blight via the Great Progenitor and the whole mind meld, whatever.
So the blight is not like physical thing, but some kind of mental thing, like a force thing, anti-force, let's say.
It seems like so. With spreading the blight, it seems like what Markian is trying to do is hoping that the way he can get it to transfer, because he wants it to go other places, the way he can get it to transfer is maybe like that's why he's infecting the Drengir, because he thinks that it will be able to kind of go everywhere by connecting from Drengir to Great Progenitor to another Drengir.
Okay, like, but is his end game to spread it somehow? Because I felt like, especially at the end of the book when he goes to Coruscant and tries to talk to the Chancellor Saw, I felt like the idea there is that he will find a way to stop it and he will use it to blackmail the Republic.
Okay.
I mean, he's like, I'm only one who can help you, etc., etc. So again, Markian, I think, is a great villain, but I have no idea what his end goal is. I have no idea what he wants to do. So on one hand, that makes him a great hero, a great villain. I mean, hero.
Okay. Well, kind of canceling Ilkin after this.
Yes,
Markian roast Dan.
Markian is a great villain, but also it's really difficult to see if the last book will be enough to get everything together, I guess, and give us a good throughput for what he was trying to do. At the start it seems like he's basically trying to survive, right? But then we see him not actually being afraid of his Nile soldiers and taking over really easily. Then he's trying to carve out like a state, but in this book you feel like he doesn't care what will happen to Nile too. So I don't have any idea what his end goal is, what he wants to do.
Well, I don't know that he has one. Like, it seems like his thing is like what they're doing with their Evereni in general is like, oh, well, they just want to be good hunters, and Markian keeps doing these things that he thinks will make him like a better alpha predator or whatever, and almost like the chaos is kind of the goal. I don't know if there's too much more deeper going on with his like individual motivations right now, even if there's something tied into it with like how he got this way via the Jedi and whatever the ancient hatred between his family and the Jedi might be.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's distinct of like the impetus for him doing this is going to be different from what his end goal might be. Like, I think he's just chaos, and then the Blight is kind of the next step of chaos. Because maybe he's trying to stop the Blight, and his offer to the Republic is legitimate, but I don't get that sense. Like, it seemed too much like he was trying to figure out the mechanics of how the Blight worked for his own purposes.
But to what end? Like, is he going to infect every planet and live as a king of nothing? Like, what's the end point there?
I don't think that the goal is to infect everything. I think like the idea of being able to transfer the Blight to like seeding the Drengir the way he did, and then being able to transfer the Blight a similar way might be part of it. There was something he said when he's in the field. I won't be able to find it again, but I think there was something that he was saying or thinking when he was in the Blight field about hunting and predators or something, and how the Blight fit into that. But I'd have to have an ebook.
Did you think that the last battle between the Jedi and Markion was really convoluted and difficult to understand?
I understood, like I was able to follow what was going on, but I feel like aside from confirming a way to kill one of the nameless, like just building on what Burry already did, like I don't know that much was accomplished there.
Okay. The end is Markion telling Vilnester that something like, "I will see you, little Jedi," which is because it's Star Wars and we have to find connections everywhere. I decided for myself that the next book will see some cracks in Vilnester's armor, I guess.
Maybe she like shaves her head or something.
See, you are expert on body language, I guess. So maybe.
Well, it'll be a nice connection to the Acolyte.
Maybe. But again, my opinion of the book is that it's not bad. I kind of agree with your point that you made in group chat about it being like a second book of the trilogy and having no real ending, I guess. I can see that. I would also say that the book is a bit overlong. Like some events repeat over and over again. Buryaga and Bell, they go to like 5 different places to see what's going on with the Blight, and it could have been done in like 3 planets. I don't know. Ava and Elzar have like 7 or 8 meetings before they know each other carnally, as you said. But they could have done it like 3 meetings, something like that. The book is a bit overlong. That's my point, I guess.
I feel like though, like the individual scenes with each of them, like both on the Bell and Buryaga side and on the Avar and Elzar side, were doing what they were supposed to. It felt like there wasn't a goal within the book everyone was working towards that got solved. Is kind of like where my complaint with, like, because it's something that I didn't even really notice until the end of the book, where I was generally enjoying what I was reading while I was reading it, But then I kind of got to the end. It's like, okay, I kind of feel like a lot of this stuff is almost back where we were, but like we have the evolution in Avar and Alazar's relationship. We know how Burry feels about the planet that's kind of dying, but the planet was dying at the start of the book. They have a bit more information about what's going on with like the Drengir and the Blight, but not that much more information. They had the way in and out of the Stormwall where Vernestra and Avar were doing their trips in. Then they have the breakthrough with Avon Staros, where they're able to do a full mission in, but then that's gone by the next scene as well because they changed the key to it. So there was stuff that happened. There were some goals that were accomplished, but I feel like ultimately there wasn't too much that progressed. Because like I could have told you at the end of the last book, oh yeah, Avar and Alazar are going to start fucking. Like that was clearly going to happen. So it feels almost like this could have been the end of the Eye of Darkness and the start of Trials of the Jedi.
Yeah. Again, like if the point of the book was to try to break through the stone wall, they failed to do that, and we're basically at the same starting point.
Yeah. We'll say there is
again.
no
I don't mind the book. The book is okay, but we just don't get enough resolutions, and everything is saved for the last book or last books if you count the young adult books. Speaking of young adult books, I kind of decided for myself that in like 10 years I will go back and read all as many books as possible from High Republic to get like a fresh view of the things, see where I stand in like 10 years. For now, we are basically stuck with a story that has no resolution, and maybe the next book or two will end it.
I mean, I'm sure Trials of the Jedi will end these main plots. It's just like with the Stormwall, I feel like if they're going to focus on like resolving Marky and resolving the like the Blight, the Nameless, I feel like you could have just had the win in this book, the change in the Galactic situation be like the Stormwall stays accessible, like, and then maybe I'd feel like they had accomplished more. Just push that raid on the station to the end of the book. But
I feel that Stonewall is kind of important because the way power balances, if Stonewall is breached even like for any length of time, the public will just crush the Nile.
Kind of, but there's still enough other stuff going on that makes Markian a threat, that makes the Blight a threat. Like, is the Stormwall? It almost feels like a thing that's propping up a story that hasn't really gone anywhere for the last book or two of the actual Nile, because they're the big enemy of this series. But if you look at what the Nile do in this book, like it's just, oh, can we get through? Can we get through? Oh, we got through. Oh, we're out. Okay, can we get through? Can we like there? It feels like that's kind of treading water.
Okay.
And I don't feel like I came out of this book knowing more. And like even the Nile seem to feel like they're treading water in the same way that they were in Eye of Darkness.
Well,
like,
Nile are treading water, but Markian has a plan. I guess. I feel like I just don't know what the plan is. That's my point.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But like we have the kind of court politics between General Weiss, Bulan, and
but we have seen we have seen it before, right? We have seen it in phase 1 even. Like,
with
different people, different names, etc. But like the same dynamics more or less. The one is smart, the one is strong, and the one is science based, something like that. So basically, like a D&D tour, you know?
Yeah. Like I did feel like we got more of that in a more interesting way in Eye of Darkness, I think, where like there was more clarity to what the goal Gira had and Vice had. But like the stuff with Porter and Vice, I think is fun. Like Porter still hunting her down. We almost had a conclusion to that until she said she knows where Barash is. So we might have a High Republic character that isn't dead. But no one actually died in this book, so that's I don't think. Yeah, so that was kind of surprising.
No one. Okay, here's a conspiracy theory time because I have to do it.
Going for it again?
Well, as usual, you know me. So do you think at all, like to any degree, that uh, the book was kind of, I guess, holding back because they wanted to see where Acolyte will end?
I don't think so.
Like,
Like,
let me give you the easiest layup, I guess. Like, I don't, obviously there's like 100 years before between the events, right? But even something very simple like the nest going to the dark side a little bit, for instance, or I don't know, maybe we see, what's the name of the planet the witches are on,
Brendock?
Brendak. Maybe we see Brendak in the last episode and it's connected to Blight somehow. Something not binding, I guess. Do you think like they might go for it?
I don't think so. Like maybe we'll get some reference to Brendock with the hyperspace disaster as one of the planets that was left uninhabitable in like the final book. But I don't think there was anything they were holding back on for this because they were waiting for the Acolyte. Because that like there's such a long distance between there. And I feel
Mhm.
like if the Acolyte had planned to do anything that was actually going to impact the story of the High Republic, I feel like that could have been communicated at least from the Acolyte people to the High Republic people. I don't think that's a demand that can work both directions there. Like, I don't think the
Okay.
High Republic writing team could have asked the Acolyte to do anything. But like, I feel like
That's
Vernestra
why
was,
that's why I'm saying that they waited for it to end to then have an idea what to do.
but I don't think there's anything
In
that they could have
connection.
done that would impact what they're doing with these storylines.
Okay. Okay, I guess maybe they could have spoiled the nest a bit more, I guess. Something like that.
I don't know, because like if even if they did go with the direction of like Vernestra is like Vernestra goes to the dark side in some way, or like there's something more heinous with her relationship with Chimere going on, that would still be so far removed from what's going on in the High Republic. Like there's still 100 years of stuff to do before that becomes super relevant. Like whatever that relationship is still outside the realm of the High Republic books. So I don't think they'd even need to set up Vernestra differently, because I think the goal with what the Acolyte as a show was doing with Vernestra was just, oh, there's a High Republic Jedi, we can use them, and we'll just kind of take the basis of that character. Like I don't think there
Okay.
was a risk that they were going to do anything that impacts the High Republic by taking Vernestra.
Remind me, Imre is still alive, right?
Imri Kantros,
Yeah.
yeah, I think he's in the occlusion zone still. He's probably dead in book. Like I could see that being a thing that happens, but
Okay. So do you want to discuss the plot a bit more? Is there anything you would like to talk about in the plot, I guess?
well, we do get some like with the Avar and Elzar story. I'll spare the naughty details for you, but we do have a moment where part of the decision for Elzar is that he's being offered Stellan's council seat. He decides to turn it down because he thinks his position as kind of like the Anakin go-between of the Jedi and the Chancellor is actually an epic place to be. Kind of a questionable choice there, but also that he makes more of a difference working with Avar, and
Which
he
a
wants.
bit different. Which a bit different from what he felt before, I feel.
Yeah, like he still doesn't trust himself. Like I feel like his decision to not take the council seat is there's a few things with that where either he's still not trusting himself and that's why he's not taking it. He feels like he can't make a difference in the galaxy by taking that council seat, which gets into the problem that we see in the Living Force. I don't know if you read that, but
Which one
where
is that?
the council members are kind of seeing how the Jedi. It's the John Jackson Miller book from a couple months
No,
ago.
I haven't read it. I haven't read
Okay.
it.
But basically, part of that is the Jedi aren't involved enough in the galaxy's going ons. So really, Elzar would be preventing a problem by taking a seat there. Or he does think that there is a problem with what him and Avar are doing, and they're being very secretive about it. So even though he does tell Yoda, like, "Oh, I'm in love with Avar,"
Which is odd. I was surprised it happened.
yeah, that
I guess I'd rather tell Yoda than Mace. I
yeah.
guess.
Well, no one can tell Mace yet, but
Yeah, you know.
like the thing that gets me with this is this is not a thing that Star Wars will ever solve, right? Like, there's every story is going to start with a take on this, and it's not going to ever be a thing that sticks.
I just don't feel that they're doing enough with it. Like, the most they have done with it was basically Anakin and Jason. That's like the furthest extent of the idea. Maybe Legacy of the Force comics have gone a bit further by making the Emperor basically light side users or neutral user, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
But overall, each book is the same idea that, okay, we are tied with the Republic. Are we politicians? Are we not politicians? Are we going to somehow participate more or less? Do we make the galaxy better by participating more or not? Like, it's the same question asked in every other Star Wars book, and they don't have a conclusion. So I kind of want us to drop it and do something else.
Yeah, like Avar and Elzar can have their private epiphany. They're like, oh, we make each other better. We keep each other in the light by doing this. But that clearly doesn't change how the Order sees anything.
Okay.
Like Anakin and Satine.
I kind of disliked the scene where Elzar is getting the offer to become council member.
You like the scene where Elzar was getting off? What?
No, I hated the offer scene, the Jedi Council joining offer scene, because it kind of underlined how all the boys club is the Jedi Order.
Yeah.
Like, there's no process. It's like, we respect this dude, and now he will be on the council, basically.
Yeah, he seems like a weird choice in general. Like, I'd pick Avar for the council over him for sure.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. I also don't remember who said that, but basically somebody said that the council doesn't know what it's doing, which is 100% true. I think it's Yoda says that. And Yoda says something even more interesting in that scene. He says that killed have we all. Like, he says that every Jedi killed someone.
Well, all the council members have been around enough that they've killed people, but that's fine. Like,
is it okay?
Yeah, I mean, they're all a bunch of, I guess, cops that need to kill everyone, I guess. But
and there's
the like Elzar clearly isn't in a good place. I don't know if they think they're gonna keep an eye on him more with this. I wouldn't offer him that job right then, even if he is doing a decent job as a Jedi. Like, he's clearly concerned about it. He's got some unresolved issues to deal with. There's too much self-doubt there. He hasn't come far enough that I'm comfortable signing off on his fitness to go back into duty on the front lines. If I'm
yes,
him.
but as characters go, he probably is the main character of the High Republic books, right? He has the most complete character arc. So
for sure. Like, him and Buryaga are like definitely some of the better characters to read. But I'm like, if I'm Yoda and Yariel Poof in our council meetings, we're not thinking, the main character Elzar is. Give him a seat, we must. And
basically that's what they said.
But
speaking of Jedi who has lost their way, Porter Engel. I think like his entire arc could have been like another novel or short story or something.
Kind of is like he's around a lot in comics.
He's doing like his own stuff. So what do you feel about a Jedi whose entire goal is basically to hunt down one person?
Right. So this kind of gets to where I feel with the Elzar and Avar stuff, right? Because it's like he's drawn back to the light by Avar and her message, but like that's what he says. Yeah. Like he thought he was going down a dark path, and that happens.
I don't feel it.
With all of them, it's like, I have learned that this is the true path of the Jedi because it's what I currently want to do.
So they are on Naboo. They break through the Stonewall for a second, and like he basically leaves the moment feels like his personal enemies away. And like Avar is like, yeah, I understand, go my dude, etc. And it's not okay, you know.
This is
Like
entirely attachment and revenge that he's going for.
yes, it's not okay at all. Like, what's the end point here? Like, is there like any result here that's good?
I mean, someone's got to kill Vice, and it's either going to be him or it's going to be Girastaros. So that's a nice endpoint. It's just the reason he's doing it are bad, and it's the exact kind of attachment that Avar and Elzar are trying to avoid.
Okay, I think like some legend books actually had that point. Basically, Luke is in a bunch of stories is like, do you want me to like become an assassin and just go kill a bunch of people? Mostly during the different crisis with the remnant,
Yeah.
and that's basically the same plot point. But here, the Jedi who is like 100 times more experienced than Luke, he decides that it's okay, it's perfectly nice to while there's a crisis in the galaxy, there's like 5 different mortal fatal enemies running around the galaxy. He decides that he is going after one person. For me, it's a bit too much, and I feel like they might make a very stupid decision here that maybe what he does is okay, something like that.
Yeah, like he's got his own little Kill Bill plot going on.
Yeah,
But I do think it's a questionable move for a Jedi that none of the other Jedi seem to be willing to, or I guess they don't even necessarily know he's alive most of the time. Like Avar's had the most contact with him, so maybe there will be a bit of a reckoning with what he's doing. Maybe he will turn into a problem for the Jedi to have to solve.
because at some point they find Markion's location, and there's like hints that okay, maybe the only way to end the war is to kill him.
Mhm.
And then Buryaga and Bell come in and they start talking about the Blight, etc. And the plot kind of shifts from killing Markion to finding the way to stop the Blight. So I guess that's a way to save the situation for Avar and for Venesta and for Elzar. But no one does that for Porter Engel, and he's like, no, I'm going to go and murder a person, basically.
Well, they're trying to find like they're thinking they can stop Markian however they need to, which might involve killing him. Maybe we'll be able to take him into custody. Like who knows? But he's definitely the problem, like the source of the problem right now. And I think there's ways to like frame the conflict like as what it is, which is this one person. If we can take him off the board in some way, like hopefully in a way that doesn't involve killing him, but if that's what happens, then that is a risk that we're taking. Like I think that's different from what Porter is doing, where his attachment to his sister is making him emphasize that one thing, and he's going for the headshot as soon as he can.
Okay.
Like this is an entirely personal thing for him, which is kind of shown. Like if it was just about Vice being a Vias,
Yes,
just being a threat, then like he had the opportunity to kill her, and he was shocked out of that by the idea that maybe the reason that he's going after her, his sister, might still be out there. So
Okay.
like there's a much more personal attachment side to it,
Yeah.
and we can like that's why I don't think that Avar and Elzar have avoided the like their logic around the attachment issue hasn't been solved because like that is what makes Elzar think like his attachment to Avar and Buryaga is what makes him think like, oh, I'm about to go Super Saiyan 3 Dark Side to save them, and that's going to be okay. But that's also going to be the case even if they don't get involved romantically. It's just deepening that connection. So like
Okay, then
it's all a bunch of
if we talk about
risks.
going to the dark side, I am interrupting you all the time because you are the only person who talks to me. I have no one else to talk at all, so I decided to interrupt you. So at some point, Buryaga, the Tabin of Naboo, he actually kills one of the nameless,
Mhm.
and it's like a direct quote. I think something like, "I used fear in order to kill it," boys, basically.
Wasn't it sympathy, not fear?
No, it's fear.
Are you sure?
I am sure.
Like they channeled through the fear, and he was able to sympathize with the thing. And
Maybe I misunderstood because English is not my first language. If that's what you're referring to,
I think, yeah.
let
Wow.
me try.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I'm sorry. It wasn't fear. It was. He'd heard the screaming of his friend who was near to the nameless, which caused Brewer to panic. He used the panic. So basically, like, he's tapping into the dark side, more or less.
I mean, maybe,
Listen,
but
I understand that you like hairy person people. I understand that, but please be objective.
I think that like that's part of the so in that part of the fight, yeah, like the point with the nameless is that they're in all of these situations, they are driving the Jedi to a point where they're thinking they're going to use the dark side or they tap into some kind of dark emotion. But when Burry talks about how he actually overcame it, then it wasn't necessarily the fear of the panic that he mentions to the Jedi Council when they're doing that meeting. He talks about how he was able to kind of sympathize with them. And it's the same thing that he gets from the Blight later that allows him to get the homesickness from the Blight. Because
Okay.
that was what actually won for him was figuring out what the emotional state of the nameless were in that moment.
Okay, I am going to forgive you because I'm also a hairy person, so it's fine. So, do you want to know what another thing that I hate about High Republic is?
Oh no. What's another thing you like about High Republic?
I would like to talk about hate right now.
Okay, well that's the dark side thing. So
Yeah, I know. I'm allowed. I'm.
all right, fine. Say it.
Uh, all this dynasties running around.
The
If I
dynasties.
if I see another Santeka doing something brilliant and ingenious, etc., I'm going to write a very nasty letter to the person who wrote the book because like it's really annoying. I for like people talk about like how progressive etc. the High Republic is, but like they do this dynasty thing non-stop. Everybody's son or daughter like brilliant etc. And as a failed son and a nepo baby myself, I I really dislike it because like it shows me in the mirror. Basically, I really hate it.
Yeah, like there's the scene at the end when they're doing the meeting with Lena So,
Mhm.
where she's talking about like her mantle is the planet, blah blah blah, like all that. Where like it's very much the monarchical presidential look. Like there's definitely I don't know. I've kind of complained about this with some of the prior High Republic stuff, where like it's
Mhm.
it's this political theory of like nothing systemic needs to change as long as you have
The
the
right
right
people.
leader in the right place, being an honorable person, staying steady as she goes in the right tone of voice behind
Well,
their desk with
Lina
all the
Soy is a good
trappings of
person, it seems,
royalty.
but like, is she enough? And then, for some reason, Jira Star's daughter, Avon Stars, she's a genius too. So I, I just want everyone to stop. Like,
Well, yeah, the Santakas, they're like the Evereni dynasty of the Rose. The Santakas are very important with everything. Like there
listen,
is very much
I just want to go to the moment Force Awakens was written, go back in time and kill the Santeka myself. Maybe that would have like, you know what I mean, right? There's like this dynasty that is doing genius things through the galaxy, and like, just look at the history of the world. The people who are rich right now, like the richest person in the world, for instance, uh, his, I don't know, 200 years ago grandfather was not rich, or the people who were the richest 200 years ago. Right now, they are not even like in the 10,000 the richest people in the world. So it's different. It's in reality it doesn't stay like that. People do not retain genius through the dynasty or through the genes or whatever you call it. You know.
yeah.
And soon we'll get, in about 9 months, we'll get a child of Avar and what's his face, Elzar, and he will be like highest midichlorians in the history of midichlorians, something like that.
Well, it's the thing where like fiction inherently goes towards the great man theory of history.
I understand.
And then the great man needs a great family, and then that's how you get the Jedi inherently going towards the Fell dynasty at all times.
So, like what the next book can do for me, it can emphasize one of the non-Jedi leaders of the Republican Army, for instance. That would be good. That's what I really like. What I liked, remember in the previous episodes, we talked about how you don't like that the Nihil are represented as this anarchists, basically.
Well, yeah, but anarchist, not anarchist. Just
Yes, so
the
basically
idea of like
giving
the
them a bad
political
name,
opponent
basically.
as chaos.
Yeah.
And then that is, yeah.
So in this one, Kyle Santeca says that I used to prefer the term anarchist. So at least we get some lip service to the idea that real anarchism is not nihil, I guess.
Yeah, it's hard to tell where they're going with that, like what the intent behind it is, where like I would read it the way you're presenting it, but there's also the possibility of like, oh, I used to be an anarchist, but then I saw these people and now I won't be, because they're what anarchists are. Like I could see it being either of those, so I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, but I do want to put the alternate interpretation at least up for.
Another thing that I found really interesting is that in the previous book, in the end of the first phase, Elzar kills Chancellor Yarrow.
Yeah.
And basically, he still haven't told the council at the start of the book. And he blames himself because she might have saved the Starlight Beacon.
Mm-hmm. And
here's a very interesting line that basically Vernesta is the one who is forcing him to tell the council. So my immediate basically link was back to the Acolyte and like, oh, now Vernesta wants to talk to the council. Really nice. Like,
she's a lot more idealistic in her youth. That's what happens.
Yeah. Okay. The idea that VS is hundreds of years old. I think it was established in the previous book, right?
Yeah, it's been basically known since she was introduced, right?
Yeah, so my point is that Vernesta being that old is not like a new thing. It's not a new idea. Milans do live long. What else? Nameless.
Like, yeah, it's something that the well, her first appearance was in 2023. So
really?
January 2023.
I thought they were in the quarter, no?
No, not Miri Allen's.
Am I confusing you? Ah, okay, nice. Okay,
yeah.
Sorry.
But that was and that was as that was in phase 2. So like like the High Republic writers would have been entirely on board with Miri Allen's being that old if they were gonna pull her forward. But I guess maybe I don't know if maybe they pulled her forward into the current phase only after we knew that Vernestra was going to be in the Acolyte. I'm not sure what the order of operations there was, but I don't think it.
I don't think it's like super important. I'm just like we always are a bit annoyed that the books are completely ignored, but at least nothing is lore breaking in the Acolyte in terms of High Republic. There's nothing there that's like again the time, the distance is chronological distance is huge, so that helps. But overall, they are not breaking anything. That's good.
Like the High Republic's impact, like obviously Vernestra's there. They have the Imri as the name inspiration for her ship. They have the robes. But like I do feel like there are more connections to later stuff than High Republic stuff narratively.
Do you agree with me that space battles were boring? Not well written.
Yeah, considering that I barely remember the actual content of the space battles.
Yeah.
I remember the fighters being more impactful on the ground battles, but like the space battle over the planet they were on. I forget what the planet was called, where they fought Markian, but like the
Something
space
with
battle was
X.
such an afterthought,
Something
and it was
starting with X. Let me find it for you. Because I'm
I
your
can
friend.
just. But either way, like the space battle seemed like it could have been a cool part of it, but it like in a pretty big one, but it didn't
Yes, they
really
didn't
have
do good
anything.
job.
Well, it was so peripheral.
Yeah, I just feel like it's something about the writers. Basically, like if I write a fantasy book or a sci-fi book, my approach will be very similar to what George Martin is doing. Like really
Did not
focus on
finish it.
exactly to really focus like on the historical parallels and historical like inspirations. So I kind of see how the quirks of the writer might play a role here. I guess it was called Vixosep 1.
Vixisef? Okay. I thought that was a different one, but yeah. That one.
Yeah, unfortunately, the wiki for the last High Republic phase is not well updated.
No.
So I tried to look some stuff up when I was confused, but I feel like maybe people are not interested, or maybe people were doing the Acolyte thing mainly.
Maybe more the latter than the former, but I did actually see on Twitter, like, even whenever I had High Republic fans that are like more in as High Republic fans show up talking about Temptation of the Force, or even anyone else that I saw reading it, it seems like this has been not super well received among the High Republic fans. Where like I thought it was
The book
fine.
or the book?
The book, yeah.
Okay.
Where a lot of people just weren't feeling it. Where like I feel like my biggest problem with it is more the plot thing I was mentioning, of like not feeling like it necessarily had its own self-contained plot like that went anywhere. So I'm surprised. I am kind of surprised that it hasn't been more warmly received within the more High Republic tuned in folks.
Interesting. Because it had like the ships that everybody wanted, right? So what do they want? What do you want? They gave you sex. I want to
Star
burn
Wars
up
fans
my
want
eyes.
one thing, and it's disgusting.
What is that? They want
Sex between Avar and Elzar.
I care for the characters. Like at this point, I have read enough to care about them, but I'm not sure if they were able to explain to justify them being together, basically, because none of the problems went away. They just decided, okay, we're together now. Okay.
Look, that's fine. If that's what they want for themselves, they can do that. But they're like, for anyone around them, I feel kind of sorry for them, because like they feel like the friends who just hooked up and started a relationship where everyone knew they were going to be in a relationship for a while, and then they're just obnoxious to be around for the next 6 months.
Yeah, they're doing some PDA, right? They're like holding hands at times.
Yeah,
She
a
even,
little bit. They're like
she even kisses him like in public, I think.
a little bit. Like I wouldn't want to hang out with them right now. They'd be not fun. So
You never know.
they're gonna need to pull out of that.
You never know. What else? Do you have any other notes for me?
I do not, unless you want to give the book a rating from F to S.
Do you know what I gave the last one?
I think you gave Eye of Darkness a C. Look,
C,
if I'm being
really?
honest, Ilkin, we barely write down what me and Justin give the books. We do not have a column on our spreadsheet for what the guests give the books, but I can add that if you want.
Ooh. That's really not cool that you said
Well, look, I can here. Oh, that's not what I wanted.
So there's a point that I was curious about. There's this line, the rush of coming battle raised Ava's body heat. Like, do you feel like Jedi get adrenaline at all?
Well, the Force is their adrenaline.
Okay, but
They definitely
do
get adrenaline.
Okay.
They're still
Like-
people.
Okay, but does that like defeat the idea of that focus, of that calmness, of that serenity, etc.?
No, because that's like that serenity doesn't mean anything if they're not overcoming anything to get it. Like it's kind of a mind over matter thing where the adrenaline is part of the matter. Because like again, they are human, they are people, they're aliens, whatever species they are. There's this mindset they're supposed to have, and like we already know again from this book that other bodily fluids are similarly natural to them, and so is the adrenaline.
And also bodily fluids.
Yeah, their bodies work like everyone else's. So
That's really
they've got
sad.
if like maybe they get those adrenaline spikes, but if it's about how they're able to focus that, right? Like if they give in to the adrenaline, that's just as bad as giving into the rage juices in their brain. Like they need to make sure they're using the resources they have in a sensible way that's not sending them to the dark side.
Okay, so I feel like it's around the same level in terms of the like if it's not letter, if it's number, I would say it's around 70 to 75, something like that. So it's not bad, it's not good, it's mediocre Star Wars book.
All right, again, we don't have that system. We only have the letters. So it's
C.
C. All right. I did put a note here that you have it as a C. So that's
I just honestly like I have been reading so many books lately. Star Wars books need to be better. Like there's really treading water nature to them lately. I feel like they need to be better. And High Republic so far is not bad, but it's mediocre in general altogether.
yeah, like I've got my I've spread out myself a little bit with Worm and with the how many lives did Harry August have before
50.
the first 50 lives?
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, I couldn't remember what the number was in the title, and those were
Doesn't
both
matter.
much better than a lot of the
Did you
Star
read
Wars
it?
that I've had
Did
to
you
read.
like it?
Yeah, I finished it. It was good. I told
Nice.
you.
Were you saved from your depression and melancholy like me?
No, God,
Okay.
no. That book does not. That book in no way made me less depressed or melancholic.
Okay. We'll look for something else, I guess.
Dana hasn't read it yet, so she's got a big pile of books that I've bought her for Christmas and her birthday over the last few years that she still needs to get through. But it's in the
Nice.
pile.
The pile is good. So
I think
when do you want-
I think she'll really like it because like she loves time travel stuff. She loves stuff in that period, like any kind of period history stuff. She loves that. So I think she'll really like it too.
when do you want me next?
So we've got Trials of the Jedi coming out in January, I believe. That's the end of High Republic, and I'm sure Justin will probably not catch up on the High Republic for that. So we'll be doing that. If you still want to talk about Trials of the Jedi,
Yeah, I will.
we are. So next week, Justin and I will be talking about Force Heretic, which means we're getting to, or Force Heretic 1 Remnant, which means we're getting to the end of the New Jedi Order. And I believe we have a long-standing invitation for you to join when we talk about Unifying Force. So whichever of those, I'm not sure if we're going to get there before January.
No, this is going to happen like in 2026 at this point. At this pace, I guess.
I'm trying, like I'm pushing for it. We're getting the books in. We did Destiny's Way. We like. Here's the thing with the NJO at this point. They're all fucking 800 pages. It's a lot to get through for especially when the ebooks or the audiobooks that Justin has to listen to are like 60 hours long. But we're doing Force Heretic 1 next week.
So if you compare NGO and High Republic, what would be your scores as a whole?
As a whole, it's so hard to do it as a whole because there's a lot of variance within both. Like I think the Rising Storm was fantastic.
Can you even take NGO as a separate entity from, like, I don't know, Fate of the Jedi, etc.?
I think so.
Okay.
Like I think there's many fans who take Legacy of the Force, Dark Nest, and Fate of the Jedi as separate from NJO. But like if I look at my scores for the High Republic, like I have Convergence and Cataclysm as A's. Like
Okay.
I thought Convergence and Cataclysm were great,
I gave them
especially
B, right?
Convergence. I gave them both A.
Okay.
Like there, which is an S, but it is A. I don't know what you gave them at all.
It
That's
was
not a
B,
recording.
but okay, it's not important. So I'm sorry.
Ilkin, we don't write that down.
I
Don't care about the guess. Trader I have as an S. Justin has that as an A. But like if we go for some of the other NJO stuff, like Edge of Victory, we both have A's, but for the first one, but then Edge of Victory Rebirth, we have like C and B. We have Star by Star we had as B's. We have Dark Tide was pretty high. Like we had NJO overall kind of averages around the B and the C area with a few
Ace.
things that stick out. And I think the High Republic is kind of in a similar vein. Like Justin can say what he wants about not being interested in it now, but where did we put Light of the Jedi? Light of the Jedi we both gave C. Like that's on par with all of our NJO rankings. Rising Storm, we both gave that A. I gave both of Phase 2 stuff A. Fallen Star, I gave B. Justin gave C. Like I don't know if I
think it's
have
comparable.
like super different.
My point is that it's comparable, right?
I think it's relatively comparable with each having their own highlights and lowlights.
Okay. Because like I just want to be objective, but it's really difficult because like the older you get, it's more difficult to like things, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of like the things that you liked 50 million years ago more than what you like right now. And that's kind of universal for everyone. So I don't want to be like that, but at the same time, I don't want to add like a point to every new thing that I've read just because I have read it today, you know?
Yeah, like I mean, it's definitely you're less likely to get like super into something when you're older and like feel that like if you're because we're comparing Star Wars probably to the way we felt about it when we were younger. Like there are new things that I can get into because I don't have this pre-existing expectation of what it was or this pre-existing idea of what it is. Like when I was reading Worm, I fucking blew through that in a month despite it being 4,500
Can I agree
pages.
not to use that word?
Worm?
Yeah.
I can't agree not to use it because it's what the book is called.
It slithers, you know?
Worms don't slither, that's snakes.
What do the worms do?
Nothing. They're gross. Worms are disgusting.
Exactly.
But it's what the book is called.
Okay.
Like the main character controls bugs. Of course it's going to be.
No. The way you don't care about the guess, I don't care about the worm. Please don't tell me. Okay.
Okay, fine. You don't
tell people where they see us next.
Well, they can see you all the time at youtube.com/kingsandgenerals. You do the narration for those videos.
No, I don't. It's AI, actually. No, it's not AI. All
right, we got him. All right, next week, Force Heretic. You can hear me say the name wrong 60 times next week. And then we're going to be live on youtube.com/ECKSTOO doing God knows what in about 20 minutes.
Let's go. Bye, guys. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye-bye.